What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got a few things to talk to you about today. I just have one thing to say real quick, because look, I mean, this drama and bullshit that's going on is not going to stop. With the team, with Stephen Ross, Kenny Stills, all that, the social protesting, blah, 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 social injustice protesting, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to go away, but I'm going to keep it short today. Just a couple quick things on that. First of all, a spokesperson for the Dolphins put out that, quote, Stephen made the decision last week and informed the NFL and members of the working committee that he was going to step aside from the group and continue to focus his efforts on Rise. That's stepping away from the group that he just got booted from by Chris Long and the other people, the other players that were, a part of that. And Chris Long, and I hadn't even thought of this, but, Chris Long had pointed out that, it's not just that he's supporting, a dude that's a racist and so on and so forth, but also because, the president called the protesting players sons of bitches and thought they all should be fired. Like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, so that's that. But look, he's trying to make it seem like he's admirably stepping down. No, you got booted because you decided to be a douche. Anyway, but also apparently, after Brian Flores' little fucking stunt to be a dick and play a bunch of fucking, Jay-Z songs just to fucking, get up in Kenny Stills' face, essentially. I guess he played a bunch of Nas songs, like at his locker room. So look, I mean, this is gonna be a back and forth thing, and it's gonna cause drama and it's gonna cause problems. So I mean, it's just something that we have to, keep an eye on and watch out for. I mean, it's going to have an effect on this season. It's going to have an effect on the franchise overall. It's going to have an effect on this regime. So we'll see. Anyway, that's really all I wanted to say about that right now. There's other things I want to talk about too. So this is a CBSSports.com report. Flores on Rosen, quote, sometimes guys just aren't ready to start. And so to continue with that, Josh Rosen endured a roller coaster start to his NFL offseason, watching as the Arizona Cardinals replaced him with Kyler Murray just 1 year after trading up to draft him, but any dreams of opening 2019 as the starter with his new team are seemingly evaporating. Look, I'm telling you guys, Josh Rosen is not going to be the guy. He could be a good quarterback in this league, but he has a long way to go, and it's not going to be here, right? If he had, if he goes to a team that has some stability, that's not in this like massive rebuild, that's, got stability across their coaching staff and their offensive line and all that stuff, and if he's got some good complementary weapons and he doesn't have to and if he can focus on, because like his inability to make proper reads and his body language and all those things, they can be worked on, but not when he's running for his life. And that's why, like, a quarterback behind a bad offensive line, to me, you can't properly evaluate him if it's that way all the time, right? If the offensive line occasionally breaks down, it's good to see how they react in those situations, how they can, if they can step up in the pocket, if they can get away from pressure, and if they can roll out, and how their legs are, blah, blah, blah. But when it's constant, when it's all the time, and this is why, like I said, Josh Rosen last year and this year won't be given any favors, but that's why it's not, you can't properly evaluate him. Also, of course, he is a young guy still technically on his rookie contract and stuff. But you can't evaluate him. Ryan Tannehill was improperly evaluated because he got so much blame for the woes of the offensive line and the coaching staff and all that. He took a lot of brunt of that and got blamed for it when it wasn't his fault. But still, he performed at a pretty high level, and in fact better than, Rosen has proven to do in his time in those kinds of situations. So Anyway, Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores has hinted on several occasions that veteran journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick is leading Rosen in the team's quarterback competition. On Tuesday, he gave his strongest hint. Asked whether the Dolphins would benefit from going to the younger signal caller as they evaluate potential long-term pieces during a rebuild, Flores threw cold water on the idea that Rosen will start just because he's 14 years younger than Fitzpatrick, that he won't. Look, man, I mean, Brian Flores is essentially saying to you right now, Josh Rosen is not going to be the guy, right? And here's why. So, Fitzpatrick is going to lead the way this year. I do think, again, that Rosen will play at some point. But it's going to be, as I've mentioned before, because Ryan Fitzpatrick either gets hurt because the offensive line is so bad, or we just do so terribly and the offense is so putrid that the entire fan base and everybody starts clamoring for a change. At quarterback, though, it's the only thing that they ever care about changing until we've had, until they elevate that to the head coach because, their emotions bubble up. They start with the quarterback and then they move to the head coach. But those are the only places they go. People never point fingers elsewhere. They never care to address any other issues. It's always quarterback, head coach. But anyway, so eventually he will play, but he's not going to perform well either behind the terrible offensive line. He could end up getting hurt. He might end up getting benched again for Fitzpatrick or even for Jake Rudock or, a third guy who currently is Jake Rudock, right? But, I can virtually guarantee that next year they're going to take a quarterback high in the draft, which then makes Josh Rosen null. He is then, for sure taken out of the equation. Because if they draft a young guy high in the draft, then, all of those reasons, oh, he's a young guy, oh, he has all this potential, oh, he was a first round pick. None of that's going to matter or be relevant when you have an even younger guy with, potentially more potential. It's fucking crazy. A case could be made that the younger guy's not ready, Flores said. These are quotes from him. I think a lot of times, and I understand that process, but I'm the one dealing with the individual player, and sometimes guys just aren't ready. And the whole sink or swim mentality, it's easy for somebody on the outside, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So anyway, point is, so look, he's saying that he's not ready, right? And, so in regard to how Arizona just let him go after being the 10th overall pick just a year ago, like I said, I think that the Cardinals are certainly being weird. The way that they fired their head coach after just a year, I think, was stupid. And all that really does is say more about the people who make the decisions in that franchise. Like, dude, you chose this guy and you fired him after 1 year. Like, you can't even give him a chance. Anyway, that says more about you and your failure as an organization than it does on the coach, in my opinion. But anyway, it does say something though, that they decided to just let him go. And because it's not, in that case, it's not just the owner or the front office deciding to let go of the coach. It's the coaching staff too that said this dude isn't whatever. Now again, to be fair, Arizona made the decision to get rid of their head coach after a year, which I think is stupid. They were just a lot of the things that they did were stupid. Their offensive line sucked. So it's not all on Josh Rosen, to be fair, right? As fair as I could possibly be. But the dude's not ready. He's not ready to be, a really good or great, whatever, franchise quarterback, right? He needs a situation where he has like relative stability. He needs to go to like, some average team that, needs a quarterback, but they have decent weapons and a solid defense and, a decent offensive line. So that way he actually can, focus on his flaws, which are pretty substantial, and, get those worked out without having to worry about additional things, right? Look, Josh Rosen's not going to be the franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. It's just not going to happen. Okay, moving on. So the next thing that I do want to talk about is the Dolphins have apparently signed Jakeem Grant to an extension. The Dolphins are giving wide receiver Jakeem Grant a 4-year extension worth up to $24 million. Grant, who gets $6 million per year, has 34 catches for 471 yards in 3 years. So I think that is a good move. I like Jakeem Grant. I've been an advocate of his the entire time. I think he does, good things. He's shown improvement each and every year. He's also been kind of, put on the back burner a little bit. One, because we've had a bunch of guys that, ahead of him, and, there's a little bit, I can't say this for sure, but I would say that there's probably a little bit of an implicit bias against him because he's a small dude as a wide receiver. Anyway, so, but that's good. I like that. I think they do need to keep him around. I think he can, provide good things for this team. Hopefully, if they can get things sorted out. Again, it doesn't matter though, unless they fix the offensive line and then have a quarterback that can, that can also play. So we'll see how that all, turns out. Like I said, I love the fact that they are extending him, and yeah, I hope to see, some more of those, big plays that, we have seen out of him, this year. God damn it. Like, it just, the biggest thing that upsets me about like that, and like when I think about Xavier and Howard and the contract that they extended him to, and like Minkah Fitzpatrick, like, I feel like these guys, their young years, their prime years, they're being wasted because this fucking organization constantly keeps making the wrong decisions and putting us into these fucking holes of either mediocrity or worse. And, they're wasting the prime years. Like Rashad Jones. Why do you think he's been upset, for a while now with the team? Because he wants to win, right? Especially later on in these, the more recent years, because he's performed well. There have been oftentimes a lot of pieces that were, good building blocks, but they do stupid shit like constantly fucking neglect the offensive line, or decide that they need some, one high priced free agent to get the job done. And it's crazy. Anyway, finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is this other article on SB Nation, the Phinsider. Time is running out for wide receiver Devon Parker. Once again, Miami Dolphins wide receiver Devon Parker is injured. This time, he is dealing with a foot issue, leading to him missing practice on Tuesday. This is nothing new for Parker, who was drafted in 2015 with the 14th overall selection. The responses I received from Dolphins fans on Twitter wasn't anything new. Some Dolphins fans are labeling him a bust. Parker has potential, but has not been able to display it on the field. When a player gets drafted in the first round, as Parker did, fans expect a higher level, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you get the idea. So, but it's like I've been saying. Look, I'm not quite ready to say he's a bust, even though he is at the end of his, rookie contract. That time is past or whatever. I'm not really ready to say he's a bust. I think he just needs, but at the end of the day, the biggest thing to me that is holding him back is his drive. Like, I just don't feel like he wants it. And, the injuries have been huge, but a lot of that I feel like he could have negated if he just, if he took care of himself better and put in the effort more and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't know. And like, I'm wearing his jersey today because I knew I was going to talk about him. I love the kid. You know, I wanted him in 2015, blah, 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 blah. I've said this all a million times, but I think he needs to, like I said, man, before the season started, I said they should have let him go. I would have kept Danny Amendola over him because he's a lot more reliable and both in production and, you know, ability to stay on the field, you know, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but, you know, here we are. And so Devon Parker, the extension they gave him is going to most likely prove to be a waste, because after this year, they'll probably let him go. You know, they'll use the out in his contract to get rid of him or what have you. And, I mean, like, we just keep going through these circles of shit, and people don't ever fucking want to listen, man. They just always want to be all up in their fucking emotions. They want to be all fucking crazy and stupid. They want to ignore facts. They don't want to fucking, you know, look at important context or other forms of data that are relevant. Like, it's just retarded. And like, people just don't live in reality these days, right? There's so much of this world and in this country that, you know, that they just don't live in reality. They literally live in like alternate universes where the facts are completely different. Like people saying that fucking, you know, we're going to have a good year this year, or people who, you know, hate on Tannehill and, you know, say he's a bad quarterback. It's just not true. Or that Ryan Fitzpatrick or Josh Rosen are upgrades. Like, it's just categorically not true, especially right now. Could Rosen maybe possibly one day elevate himself to be a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill? Sure. Possibly. He's younger than Tannehill, right? And theoretically, he's got, at this point, more time in the NFL than Tannehill does. Unless, you know, Rosen does end up out of the league sooner rather than later because of, you know, his inability to adapt or really develop or whatever, if that becomes the case. But as it stands right now, he's definitely the better quarterback. Tannehill is. So, and he's for sure better than Ryan Fitzpatrick across the board. So, I mean, people just don't live in fucking reality. So, you know, like, I don't know what to say to people sometimes. Like, it's just ridiculous. But, you know, another instance, though, in which I will most likely be proven right. And, I mean, he's not going to contribute. What is he going to do? And then we have guys that are behind him. You know, Preston Williams is coming up. Bryce Butler's another bigger body. Isaiah Ford, right, is another tall, lanky dude. Like, and then we got, you know, several dudes that are, you know, smaller, faster. Wilson, Grant, Stills. But, you know, even on that level, so we'll probably end up losing Devon Parker. There's now all this drama between Kenny Stills and the organization, which could end up, you know, ending with a departure of Stills through some form or fashion. Jakeem Grant just got signed to a 4-year deal, but Albert Wilson wasn't happy with Gase being fired and, you know, posted something immediately afterwards. So who knows how that goes. Plus, he's not, I think he only has this 1 year left. So, I mean, we could end up losing a lot of the potential and a lot of the talent and stuff that's on, that's in our wide receiver core. Right now, I think it's a strength, but it could, you know, be severely hurt and hampered if we start losing a bunch of guys. Devon Parker, I agree with, but if we ended up losing Kenny Stills and, you know, possibly even Albert Wilson, you know, especially for stupid reasons, you know, that's going to be super disappointing. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I hope you do enjoy my perspective and my videos. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.